They're usually peach or green or cobalt. This one has a little bit of roughness, but nothing major right here at the top where it's flaked. These were very, very popular in the 1930s. Had you walked into the average home in the 1930s, whether you were in northern Mississippi or southern Massachusetts or central Oklahoma, their homes would have looked very bland and very plain compared to ours. And you wanted all the color you could get. And that's one reason these sorts of things were popular. You might have had a Maxfield Parrish print hanging over the piano. You might have had one single colored mirror. But the walls were fairly bare and devoid in that period. And so when they did have something on their walls, they wanted it very bright and colorful. It's one reason you look at a lot of 1920s prints, and today they seem garish. I mean, if they haven't faded, the colors are just almost technicolor, very loud. But again, homes were very, very plain in most places compared to our homes today. And so as a result, they wanted to maximize the color. And that's one reason colored mirrors were very popular in this period. The peach ones tend to sell for the most. The cobalt sell for quite a bit too. The green ones are popular. They're all popular. The bad news is we have damage in a prominent place, and you know that does hurt the value. In perfect condition, this would be $150 to $175. In the condition that it's in, again, given the fact that it is so prominent, maybe around $95 on the current market. Yeah, they do really well on the open market. Are you always this quiet? I can believe that for a minute.
Hold that so they can see.
Oh, okay, here you go. If you notice on the back here, it's got a stencil design. Sometimes they're sandblasted, but usually they're stenciled on the back like that. Sometimes what they would do, they would place a stencil on the glass, on the back, before putting on the colored backing, and they would pour acid on the piece and acid etch the piece. Everyone's a little bit different.
I never liked it. It was always hanging on my grandma's wall, you know, because you couldn't see real plain in it.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, they were very popular in the 20s and 30s, colored mirrors. Yes, ma'am. You got that there? I'm just going to give you the bad news. Straight up, it's resin. It's polymer resin. This is a reproduction of a type of American ware called scrimshaw. Scrimshaw was made from whalebone. There is no one element that, for example, legally in this country you can mark about 3 or 4 different things as ivory. Okay, they can be made from walrus, it can be made from elephant, it can be made from certain types of bone. There are about 2 or 3 things that can legally be called scrimshaw. Walrus scrimshaw, whale scrimshaw, so forth. What sailors in the 18th century and early 19th century would commonly do to pass time, they would get a piece of whalebone and they would start carving it on a ship, or a walrus tooth, whatever they had on the ship. Most scrimshaw comes from New England and southern Canada, especially along the Maritimes, like Newfoundland, Labrador, so forth. Most of it in this country is going to be of New England origin, but it's extremely expensive and very valuable. It's very collectible in New England. You don't see much in this part of the country because this is such a young part of the country. In the 1960s, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, maritime whaling museums on the East Coast, all sorts of catalogs started reproducing it and selling it. And that's exactly what this is. It's a reproduction of a scrimshaw piece. This is cast in polymer resin. It feels totally different from what whalebone would feel like, and it's just mass-produced and sold for the gift shop trade. So that's what we're dealing with here, a piece of reproduction scrimshaw.
It refers to the Challenger expedition. This whole we found the same image in that. Do you have any idea when it might have been?
When something might have been reproduced, you mean?
Because it wasn't that well known.
You mean when it might have been reproduced? Probably, scrimshaw became very popular on the collector's market in the 1960s. I would say that particular piece. Polymer resin has only been around for about 40 years as we know it. It's a very modern resin. So I would say from 1960, late 60s to the early 80s, somewhere in sort of a 20-year, 30-year range there. So not
Pay
terribly.
for it.
Well, hey, you did well. You know, on the current market value, what I would do if I had this tomorrow, I would open, what I do when I mark a piece like that, I just open it up to that page, sell a piece of scrimshaw with it, and, you know, maybe in the $15 to $25 range, just a curiosity more